All right, let's get it on with a very fun, hopefully a very fun TvP between these two lovely French individuals. On the top right side, we're looking at the main base of our Terran player. He had great runs into the playoffs in the previous 2 seasons. Can he repeat that? It is MarineLord.
A very scary player in his own right. Sometimes he has been close to being the French hope, though France has always produced so many players. It is Cascade's DnS.
Yeah, we're gonna open this one up with an eBay block, and DnS wants to have none of that, so he's gonna send a couple of probes to the low ground immediately to prevent this from really gaining any additional HP, so he can still just expand in the way he wants to. I don't know what my expectations are for this one, Cats, because I can see DnS win a very scrappy series where MarineLord moves out, but he attacks the main base, and then MarineLord is suddenly way more all-in than he wanted to be, and then like somehow DnS wins with a couple zealots. Or I feel like it's going to be a boring series where DnS just sits at home and MarineLord has really gnarly build orders that can hit so hard and just kills 20 probes or moves out with Marines and tanks and just wins the game immediately. I just don't know.
Yeah, it's very difficult to tell. For me, DnS is the type of player that is good at carving himself advantages, but can sometimes be a little bit flaky with all of his bigger movements. Kind of like what we saw from Milky Cow, where he gets in a really good position, but then maybe doesn't collapse onto that army or something. Moves like that where I feel like if he just did a little bit more or did a little bit better, he would just close a lot more games than he does. Maybe it's a little bit of stage fright as well. I don't think he has been consistently a very strong performer in tournaments compared to us on the ladder.
Yep. Well, DnS is gonna go for I gotta say a weird opening though. He goes gateway on the low ground, Stargate in the main, gets a battery in his main middle line as well, which normally you only do if you want to chrono boost out your first gateway unit that's supposed to run to the other side of the map to delay the command center. For some reason, he then decided to turn around and just chase an SCV. He doesn't know what MarineLord has been doing at all. And what MarineLord has been doing is not completely standard, right? MarineLord opening up Marine Factory with a reactor, then getting 2 Hellions out. He's just going to suicide these 2 Hellions, maybe in the net. I have no idea. This is so weird to me.
Yeah, MarineLord just poked behind those bushes to see if there was any proxies or anything of the sort. Now with these 2 adepts, DnS is going to go in, but I'm with you, Roddy. There's no need for that shield battery as early as it comes down if you are going to choose to go for that SCV, right? So that it protects you against the Reaper. So that is exactly what I'm talking about with DnS, where he does these little things that I'm not so sure that are the most efficient or the best or consistent with his play. So I'm a little bit scared that continues. MarineLord has snuck out with the Hellion, so now he might be looking to suicide him, like you were saying.
Yep, and they should be able to get at least 3 or 4 kills in this natural. There is no shield battery here. The Phoenixes are way out of position, and this already hurts so much. Oh my goodness. Oh my. 7 cats, 7 with just 2 Hellions.
Yeah, and this is exactly what I love about MarineLord, is that he is the type of player that will really inch in there and try to get, you know, the cool moves going. Like he's a cool player to watch, honestly. Like I love that he sneaks out with this Hellions. He thinks, okay, you're there with the adepts. I'm gonna go and try to sneak out if I can, you know. And he'll take those chances, not as methodical as other players perhaps, but rather a little bit more chaotic, and this is a great start for him.
You know what's the sickest thing about everything is that DnS probably thinks that there is a follow-up, that he potentially is getting 1 base all in. Instead, MarineLord made it seem like he was going to proxy a starboard, like it was just all-out aggression. He actually went for a triple command center opening, but he just walled himself in. So at that point, you're a bit paranoid as a Protoss player. You're like, I'm just not exactly sure what's happening. You don't want to drop too much stack at once because you're like, okay, if I'm getting 1 base all in, I'm just super dead here. And DnS still doesn't know he's playing against a triple CC opening. I gotta say, this worked out in a marvelous way for MarineLord.
Yeah, absolutely. You were talking about Euthermal and his builds earlier, and there's that 2-base Euthermal build that he popularized from his YouTube channel, where you move out with the 2 Banshees and tanks, and it's so nasty. So it's very, very easy to overcommit to defense, or at least slow down in your progression as the Protoss player.
Oh my god.
And yeah, that's a really, really good start, or continued to a good start for MarineLord.
Yep. I mean, Phoenixes are great units if they gain in volume, right? Like 3 Phoenixes, they don't do that much. But if you have 5 or 6 or 7 Phoenixes, then all of a sudden you can start ravaging mineral lines. You can really take the fight against 6, 7 Marines as well, because they die so quick. DNS just lost 2 Phoenixes for almost nothing. He does catch a break. I mean, he really didn't see that Widowmine, so he could have actually been in danger of losing another Phoenix there, but just losing 2 Phoenixes on the outskirts of the main base of MarineLord for a couple of Marines, those are not the traits that you're looking for as a Protoss.
Absolutely not. And MarineLord is looking to situate his third. He's going to have it up and running before DNS has his own, even though on the map DNS has already started his. Actually, he may not have it as fast, but it will be an orbital command. So really liking MarineLord's economic position here. Now, as the Terran player, Roddy, how do you head into the later stages of a 3cc opener? I'm just used to getting all in every time.
I think you can get a proper 2-2 push going with Ghost and enhanced shockwaves, but I think at this point MarineLord is probably confident enough to just move out with this little bio squad that he currently has, because DNS's army, to be totally honest with you guys, it just sucks at this point. There is nothing in his army that's good, other than that Colossus that's halfway done. But that Colossus isn't here yet. MarineLord is actually just going to win this game, cats. I know I'm being the anti-hype guy right now. There is a hole in the force fields as well. The shield batteries aren't done yet, and I said it, this army sucks without a Colossus.
Yeah, the Phoenix are going to be recalled, but there's not enough Phoenix to pick off even the Marines, so it's going to be very difficult. The shield batteries are unpowered. Here's the Colossus, however. He might have a say here, as the Phoenix are not actually lifting up the second Cyclone for some reason, so the Colossus having to split some of his shots onto that Cyclone, and now still somehow MarineLord with some army left over here. They have already done plenty. DNS recognizes that as he loses another 10 probes and has to tap out.
And that is just way too much damage to take against a top Terran like this young man spawning in the bottom left side of Pillars of Gold. Temporarily representing a Coca, it is MarineLord.
Top right hand side, it is the red Protoss player for Cascade, DNS. Yes, indeed. All right. So he's going to move out with this for Hellions. There is no medevac follow-up or anything like that for them to be dropped. So he's just kind of hoping that there is no wall. There is 3 adepts that I think can arrange themselves in a way where they do form a wall. But not at the moment.
The wall is hard, but I think you can at least kill one of the Hellions, and then your Phoenixes can kill a second Hellion. And then this should honestly, on paper, be a pretty clean start to this game for DNS.
Yes, indeed. Certainly much better than the last. And now we have MarineLord going for a Widowmine. His starport is very delayed, though. How important do you think this is, the delaying of the starport on the side of MarineLord?
Well, it's clearly a choice. He just wants to have very quick stim. Now, I gotta say, this is a massive scout for DNS. There is a Widowmine on the left side of that factory. He doesn't fly into it. I am a bit worried that if DNS goes up to 3 bases of, like, basically no power units, so no Zealots with charge or... yeah, no Resident Englave Adepts, no Colossi, then I feel like just the first push of Stim Bio is once again going to be very difficult. But you gotta love this start, right? Compare this to the previous game. DNS lost 7 probes against 2 Hellions. This game he has already killed a Hellion, has killed 3 SCVs, took 0 damage at home.
Yes, indeed. He's going for the Adepts again, so it seems to be something that he likes. I'm still worried for that Widowmine that's not burrowed on the side of MarineLord. Pretty minimal thing, but DNS has had a very strong start here. And MarineLord was going for a 2-1-1, like you were saying, really going for that stim over anything else, but it can't really work that well against Phoenix, right?
Yeah, I mean, maybe he's just hoping that DNS makes a mistake and he can activate stim and he can snipe just 2 of them. That'd be massive already. I think that Widowmine finally burrowed. What I love about DNS is that he almost dropped the Robo Bay immediately as soon as that Robo was done. Because once again, Phoenixes are great, but they need some kind of support, whether that's by Zealots or by a Colossus. They need something else, because just basic gateway units without any fancy upgrades and Phoenixes, it does not deal well with Stim Bio.
Yeah, another telltale there for DNS, and how much he's prioritizing that compared to last game is the fact that he just goes for an Observer instead of something like an Immortal, which would the Colossus. But yeah, he's got to be really careful. MarineLord, that is, with that medevac. It is loaded with 3 mines. I'm not sure if DNS is aware of that, but DNS with a nice pickoff onto those Hellions.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be fun. This is a very important move out for MarineLord. DNS wants to buy time. Make sure you don't misclick with your Phoenixes. But what he's doing right now is perfect. You're just sharking around, looking for any stray Marines, any reinforcements. He still needs to buy a little bit of time, I'd say, before that Colossus comes out. But now the Adepts, if you have a Guardian Shield, then Adepts actually don't do that bad against Marines, right? Like, they won't do great, But with a Guardian Shield, the shield battery, it's not that bad, I'd say.
All right, this Widow Mines have pulled the Phoenixes back so that MarineLord can push onto the third, but there is a lot of DNS here, and now with a Colossus, MarineLord will be deflected. This Widow Mine forgot to burrow as well. It could have been the saving grace there for MarineLord, who only manages to kill 3 probes, Roddy.
Yep, that's not enough. The reason I said no is because DNS actually left his sentry at the front. The MarineLord stimmed forward, picked up the sentry, and the Colossus wasn't really there yet. So I was like, no, that sentry is so important. But yeah, DNS clearly busy dealing with the mines. I gotta say, very successful defense.
Yeah, very, very strong. Also situated that base, that third base, very fast. MarineLord trying to play catch-ups and placing his command center on location as well. But yeah, I mean, he's gonna have to extend this game a little bit and look for a later game. Maybe he's gonna be the one that's gonna have to be looking to defend against this Colossus. Beautiful pylons all over the place from DNS to spot the army movement of MarineLord.
Yep, finds a couple of Marines on the left side as well. I mean, Phoenixes have no issues taking fights against 4 or 5 Marines by themselves in these numbers. So, well done. I gotta say though, MarineLord's macro has been on point because he's definitely turning this into a game. He even is ahead in upgrades. He's got +1 weapons already. He's working on +1 armor as well. So definitely not all bad news for MarineLord, but yeah, comparing it to the previous game, this is much more playable for DNS.
Yeah, I mean, I like what we've been seeing, but like you said, maybe in the background, MarineLord is just catching up of being perhaps the superiorly mechanical player. As far as the altercations on the map, DNS has been doing fantastic. And let's see if he is able to do with this something with this large force, 2 Colossi with thermal lance completed as well.
Yeah, look at DNS.
Prism.
DNS even getting a War Prism now already. I wouldn't be surprised to see him drop a Templar Archives because he's mining up 6 gases. And I honestly think that the very first attack that DNS could be planning here could be devastating, could be game-ending, right? Imagine his army right now and then add 3 Archons in the mix. How do you stop that as a Terran player without any Ghost?
Yeah, without any Ghosts is the tough part here. And of course, Ghosts won't be available for a little while. The Templar Archives is more than halfway done now, and I think we're gonna see exactly that, though DNS needs a little bit more gas if he wants to add those Templars. It looks like he's also loading up some Adepts, so maybe looking for multi-prong harass here to try and potentially end the game. I have to imagine he'll move out with the Archons, right? It's not, they're on a timer, or?
I want to say yes, but then DNS is showing us things that make it seem like he doesn't want to do any of the things that we just mentioned, because he's getting War Prism speed, he's getting Disruptors right now, and that actually makes me a bit sad. I really feel DNS is making this game a lot more complicated than it had to be.
Yeah.
If he would have just A-moved with all those Zealots, 3 Colossi, a couple Phoenix in the mix, I feel like the absolute worst thing that would happen is that they trade armies, but then he also kills 20 SCVs in the mix. Now he's making it a more complicated game. Hey, if he's confident in the late game, Cats, I don't hate it, but he is giving MarineLord a proper chance in this game.
Yeah, it gives me a little bit of like Soul type vibes where he drops the extra command centers when he feels ahead. Yeah, DNS is confident in that late game, but I mean, if you have taken advantages early on and if you have a strong timing, I really like to see those advantages pushed. At the same time, these Adepts might just be enough, as 11 workers have already gone down on the side of MarineLord, and this should be a comfortable advantage for DNS to keep on to the later game.
Yeah, things are looking great for DNS. I was a bit worried because I was like, I feel like you're making it harder on yourself than it has to be. And perhaps I still believe in that statement, but he is doing a great job in finding damage, first with the Phoenixes, then with the War Prism, and obviously attacking into a Protoss that's sitting on 4 or 5 Disruptors. That is so damn difficult, right? There are shield batteries as well. You can't really stim and disengage forever because then you're just going to burn out your own medevacs. But running into Disruptors is super difficult too. DNS is doing a great job in kind of just picking MarineLord apart at this point. And MarineLord, I really feel like he just wants to push the issue. But it's going to be so hard to run into this Protoss army.
Oh, God. That scan has to have him feeling scared. That is a huge army on the side of DNS. I think MarineLord's just going to retreat and wait for enhanced shockwaves at the very least. If not for 2 upgrades before doing anything else, because yeah, you do not attack into that.
Yeah, he still does have those 4 tanks from basically the early mid-game, and now he's going to add a couple of Liberators in the mix as well, and then it really becomes a very positional game. Eventually, there's a chance that DNS does get jebaited into taking a horrible fight. That's not the most spectacular Nova we've ever seen. I am still worried for DNS. He's doing a great job with the counterattacks. He's found a lot of damage with the Prism, with the Phoenixes. But those tanks are now already more than halfway across the map. And Liberators in the mix are going to make this even more complicated.
Yes, indeed. DNS needs to look for a 5th base perhaps somewhat soon, as MarineLord is going to match his 4th now. And DNS is pretty much maxed out, Roddy. I mean, he's getting some upgrades here and there, but once you're maxed out, do you want to trade or how do you leverage this advantage?
I would say yes, because he has 15 Zealots and 12 Stalkers in his army, right? And a couple of random Phoenixes that don't have any upgrades. So even though he's maxed out, this is not the best quality I think you could wish for as a Protoss player. I'd definitely love to see him start trading.
Yes, indeed. And these DTs will make it so that the army has a free reign to move down at the natural. Actually, decent Novas, as the Ghosts are going to struggle to split. I'm surprised he doesn't go after that extra Ghost, as I think he's one of the very few remainders. There's only 2 Ghosts right now.
Yeah, good job there. Colossus running a little far forward, but the Novas, I'm gonna say, the first 2 kind of just went past the army. The 3rd one there is pretty good. The Colossus are in a little bit of trouble, and now there are probes that can go down as well. The final shot is a big one, though. That really counts.
Yeah, MarineLord not really choosing to split against those Novas this time around, and DNS, in spite of running some past the army of MarineLord, like you were talking about, get some good connections. Juicy. Though his army hasn't really increased in complexity, right? Still a lot of Stalkers and Zealots.
Yeah, I mean, if you're just running circles around your opponent and trying to beat down their economy, it's not too bad, but it is important that he keeps trading. Now we've got Dark Templars with Blink finishing up as well. They're going to try to put some pressure on this command center on the left side. I love that he still uses the Phoenixes now defensively to shut down the random Liberator as well. I mean,
yeah, gorgeous.
I love everything the DNS has done, but he still needs to keep trading.
Yes, indeed. These Dark Templars are gonna just walk past the Planetary Fortress. Would have almost liked for them to try, but instead he's gonna go after many SCVs very, very fast. There is a bunker and a tank that could go down, but instead DNS is gonna choose to go after more of the economy of MarineLord. So he really wants to make that, I suppose, his win condition. I wouldn't mind if this is the case to just see more production being added, perhaps. But oh, it's a fleet beacon, so we're gonna have a carrier transition.
You know, I kind of love the way that the Protoss has played this game. The only thing that I don't love is that it doesn't feel like a DNS game to me at all. This feels like a very different kind of Protoss. But hey, maybe DNS has gone into the lab, he's gone to the study, back to the drawing board, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to switch a couple things up. I'm not going to be the same guy that I always was. I'm going to be a little less wild, a little less reckless, and let's just go for some slower paced games where I slowly but steady increase the quality of my army. It's actually working out pretty beautifully. I'm just still a bit worried, cats. Don't hate me, but I've never seen DNS as a master of like 200 supply engagements. But I hope that I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think he often goes to the late game, but like I said, I think that's kind of often where he makes those decisions. That like maybe this one attacking into a lot of tanks, but the Nova very nicely.
DNS is actually just playing a marvelous game, and he's getting closer and closer to closing this one out. He took out the Planetary Fortress on the left side, got 15 SCVs there, and what I love to see, cats, is that he's not overcommitting. I feel in the past we've seen DNS in situations like this, where he does everything right, but then he overcommits and he loses everything, and he's down 50 army supply. It really does seem that he has learned from those mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. I love what he's doing on the left-hand side with so many DTs to snipe those buildings, right? So much DPS. And on this side, the less complex army is just kind of trading while being shielded by the Purification Novas. I'm so surprised that those Novas actually landed on the tanks, Roddy. It's so scary for me whenever I have Disruptors going up against tanks.
Yep. I don't really know how that happened. What I do know is that DNS is still trading left and right, firing Nova forward. Goodbye to the Planetary. Final Nova does not connect with the Bio Army, but still pretty good. This one should connect, though. A few more Marauders go down, and MarineLord will just tap out. Anyways, here we go for Game 3. A very important one, of course, for both of these players in Group D. In the bottom right side of Lightshade, we're looking at the main base of the one and only MarineLord.
Top left-hand side for Cascade, and looking to cement himself as one of the best players in France. It is DNS.
This is very hit or miss, right? If MarineLord has scans available, if he drops turrets, he's going to be totally fine. He can even build a Raven. Imagine a world where he moves out and he doesn't have any turrets. This is so quick. The Dark Shrine is done.
Wow. That is going to be extremely fast indeed. There is no sign of an eBay, and in fact, 3 refineries for MarineLord. So he is concerned with mining a lot of gas right now. The eBay is actually 75% done now.
Yeah, there is a little sign, but there are no turrets yet, cats. So let's keep close eye. He's got money for his, or excuse me, he's got energy for a scan or a mule. What is MarineLord going to do? MarineLord hasn't dropped the mule yet, so that's very good news for the Frenchman. But he's still going to take damage here, right? Okay, he's starting to build a turret in the natural, but he's still going to end up losing quite a few SUVs. Drops the scan. War Prism tries to save the Dark Templars, but that doesn't work out. Great defense by MarineLord.
Yeah, but in the main, he only had 1 scan available. This turret's not going to complete. 7 workers have already gone down, and a lot of mining time lost as well. The second scan comes in, but not before 8 workers fall. Do you feel like this is... Yeah, who does this favor? I actually have no idea.
It's very close, and every Terran player out there is going to hate me, but I actually think it favors MarineLord. Like, I know he's down in workers, but he does have access to Stim at this point, and I feel like it takes a little while before DNS obviously gets access to a Colossus. You can go Stalkers with Charge, that'd be sick. You can go Zealots with Charge, but obviously if you don't have any Blink Stalkers, you're going to have a hard time sniping the medevac. Like, the army supply at this point, I think is the most important. If MarineLord sits back for 3 minutes and doesn't do anything, obviously this favors DNS. But I feel that this is going to be very difficult for DNS to hold.
Yeah, 2 of those 3 shield batteries go down, so DNS is not taking this lightly. There are no medevacs to heal this for MarineLord, but I also feel like he doesn't have the time to spare, right? He should just move once he's been spotted. I feel like it's now or never. Yeah. MarineLord is gonna go up this ramp. This is the hard part. Only 1 force field available for DNS. I would have almost preferred the Guardian Shield instead, and MarineLord will stim forward onto those Stalkers. Now he's gonna settle, it looks like, for the 3rd.
Yes, that tank is left by itself, and it means the tank goes down. That 1 Colossus is here, I think, to save the day. Super battery activated as well. And sure, DNS lost a lot of units, but he kept his probes alive, and he kept the Nexus alive. It wasn't a pretty hold, but I'd still say that's a hold.
Yeah, most definitely. It looked much better for MarineLord than it ended up being. That tank, like you were saying, it can't just stay by itself, right? Like, without any buffer. They're so weak and so quick to die if there's no units in front of them, so... A little bit sketchy, that tank, and with that, the contain dies for MarineLord, and now I kind of like DNS's position.
I'm with you. I gotta say I'm on the edge of my seat, though. Like, I can really feel how tense this is and how close this is between these two. A very important series for DNS. If he wants to make the playoffs, he needs a victory today, and obviously MarineLord doesn't want to drop to 1 and 2. That doesn't mean he's out, but a 1 and 2 start isn't pretty, especially after he had such good runs. He did a great job in finding both observers so far. So DNS is kind of in the dark, and this is not a pleasant map to be in the dark, because you know you can get dropped real quick. But yeah, I like the vision he's gaining in his main base though. You see the pylon, the way he's spacing those out, and a couple of stalkers on the edge. I love that.
Yeah, the hallucinated Phoenix, however, is going to miss this medevacs, and that's kind of what it was potentially looking for, but a probe will spot them. So MarineLord trying to go in as quickly as possible, but DNS reacting after seeing that probe, bunching up his stalkers to try and deny the medevacs. Now he's going to have to relocate some of his army to deal with this, as well as slicing a few to deal with the tank on the low ground. That's pretty nice.
Okay, he didn't go for the Robo Bay. Yes, a couple of Zealots with Charge are going to work on the tank on the low ground. DNS, you got to commit then, though. The Colossus could have kind of helped out, I feel. Not the prettiest defense so far by DNS. MarineLord picks up again. He goes into the main. A lot of Stalkers still here waiting for it. 1 medevac. No, actually, no medevac goes down yet. Come on, make up your mind, please. Oh my god. Okay, he kills the medevacs, but not before losing all of his Stalkers.
Yeah, still there's a little bit of army remaining here for MarineLord. The Robo Bay will be targeted and it will be taken down. So really nice, making something work with that little squad MarineLord is. At the same time, he's pushing on to the 3rd, where 2 Colossi, Sentries, and Zealots are gonna say no.
This game is so wild at this point. You can really see they're both throwing everything that they have at each other. DNS kind of weathers the storm, but lost his Robo Bay, lost a ridiculous amount of Stalkers. Like, Blink is not even done yet, and 16 Stalkers have gone down. How often do we cast a PvT where 16 Stalkers go down before Blink has finished up? Like, that just doesn't really happen. I think in the midst of all of this, cats, MarineLord also kind of forgot to morph his command center into an orbital command. But what he does have is 62 SCVs, and that's a beautiful amount.
Yeah, and I love the fact that he's just chosen to move the command center before morphing it to an orbital at this point, because there's so many SCVs that weren't mining efficiently. He's on the number that you just mentioned, 63, so keeping up with DNS nicely. And without DNS being able to really move out and punish MarineLord, it kind of evens out, right? Does this even favor MarineLord, given that he has orbital commands to work with?
Yeah, I think it does favor MarineLord, and I think he's in a beautiful position. DNS is actually going 4 bases, double robo, and he's going to rebuild the robo base. So this game is actually going to slow down. I once again feel like there was a lot of potential in DNS just fighting. Like, imagine if that Warp Prism is with his army right now, Cats, and he just forces the fight. If those tanks are not sieged, DNS's army is like 5 times better.
Yeah, but this is what I was talking about with DNS, Roddy. I feel like he just spotted the army of MarineLord moving out. He was in a position to backstab and kill the third or a lot of workers there, or even just drop some units there. But instead, he's going to pull back and try to defend against the army of MarineLord. I feel like that's a positional mistake.
Yeah, and he flies the Prism over 2 missile turrets as well. I mean, gets a couple of SCVs, gets a siege tank as well. So this wasn't all for nothing, but obviously DNS did sacrifice his 4th base. I'm with you. If those tanks are not sieged, like, oh my god, Colossus and Harkons are so powerful there, DNS. Why don't you believe?
Yeah, or at the very least, I mean, you have 8 zealots, shove them into the mineral line. They're gonna at least pull back the army of MarineLord and kill SCVs and pay for themselves, right? Like, there's no way around it. You know where your opponent is and what he has, and he doesn't. I mean, that's great.
I think DNS is just a bit stressed out right now, and I really can't blame him. This game, obviously, it's an important one. It's game 3 of the series, and they've been on a knife's edge on both sides, right? Like DNS at first with Dark Templars, then MarineLord with non-stop aggression over the DNS side of the map. DNS lost so many Stalkers even before he had Blink. That was that very weird early push. So I understand that this game is maybe getting a bit too much to make perfect decisions. What I do know is that DNS's army is still very powerful, especially if there's no goals. But now the tanks are sieged up in a gnarly spot, though.
Yeah, MarineLord managing to make a lot of progress out on the map with those tanks and sieging them, like you said, in a gnarly position. But no! This Disruptor does get some units. MarineLord kind of overextending out of range of his own siege tanks. He has to continue to slow push. And these Disruptors have been the bane of him. At the same time, he has lost additional SCVs, now putting him behind in economy.
This is the fight. I love it by DNS. He realized that 2 of the tanks were not sieged, and he moved forward immediately. He's like, all right, moving into 4 tanks, that's a little complicated. But if only 2 of your tanks are sieged up, then I'm just going for it. And DNS right now taking the supply lead. That is a very ambitious forward Blink. Eats an EMP as well, but he's still shaving off quite a few Terran units here.
Yeah, and that looks pretty good, especially after dealing that backstab damage at the same time. He is gonna be set up to populate his 4th now, whereas MarineLord is just starting his. So DNS in a very strong position of that defense.
Yeah, I think MarineLord got a bit too eager there. He's like, all right, I'm gonna unsiege 2 of my tanks, and that's all that DNS needed to see to just pounce on that army. And obviously goals weren't really there yet the first time that those 2 armies clashed. So very well done. The game is far from over, because MarineLord is still ahead in upgrades. Like, DNS is working on his +2, and his +2 is about to finish up. But in like 10 seconds, MarineLord will have an armor upgrade advantage. I gotta say, I like the army of DNS a whole lot more, though.
Yeah, I like that map was showing us those Liberators, as they could really turn the tides. If MarineLord gets a hold and some kills on the other side of the map, that could be exactly what he needs to get a grip on this game. So let's see how DNS reacts. He's already situated with 4 Stalkers in perfect position at the south. Northbound is the 2nd Liberator, and there's nothing here, but there's also nothing else going out on the map. So expect DNS to not lose too many probes.
Well, loses 4 at this point. The army of MarineLord is moving out. We only have a single tank, single Liberator. Like, MarineLord's army is way more mobile. But DNS shouldn't obviously just chase this army around the map. DNS should just try to force a fight somewhere. Even if it means losing a base, he's going to recall half of his army. One of the Colossus very exposed. The second one as well. Oh no, that was a terrible recall. What a fantastic trade for MarineLord.
Yeah, I mean, he was definitely caught off position, but he was closer to just walking back. And the problem with recalling, for anyone watching that's not aware, is that your units don't get to attack right away when they get recalled. So there's a little bit of a cooldown where they just take damage. Colossi, being as frail as they are, all fall. And MarineLord now with the splits against these Disruptors.
That went so good for MarineLord. Oh, DNS, indeed. His army was like, what was it? Like, 3-4 seconds away from just walking over. Yeah, maybe that Nexus would have gone down, but that probably would have been better than losing a Disruptor and 2 or 3 Colossi. There is one Liberator still being annoying in the main base. This game is so close. Like, DNS is really getting a lot to work with, and he should be winning this game. But MarineLord is like, nope, I ain't going down without a fight. And here we are. I feel like, I don't know. They've been throwing random stuff at each other for the last 7 minutes. I love it.
Yeah, here's where I would love to have like an analyst looking at every replay of StarCraft 2 ever to tell me if that was the closest recall out in a professional game. Like I don't think I've seen a shorter recall ever.
Oh, well, I've seen a recall the other day that was literally right next to the Nexus. He wanted to evacuate the Nexus, but then he recalled his army to it. So we've seen shorter recalls, Cats, but it wasn't a pretty one.
Non-intentional.
Not true. All right, big drop in the main base. This can actually be very complicated. Don't forget that DNS could still warp in Dark Templars. I feel like you should always warp in a DT immediately, let them scan, and then warp in more. A lot of his gateways are about to be unpowered. Cats, why is DNS not reacting to this?
I'm not sure. I was thinking it's so very difficult to react with that many disruptors as well. It's not the kind of unit that is easy to split. It's a death volley type army that he has. But my god, is he taking damage? Is it dying? I want to see. Is that Archon up? Can we look at that Archon?
Yeah,
it will get cleaned up.
Yeah.
Oh, he died.
It lived for a while. It's like, all right, I'll hold the door. Doctor should blink and kill the medevacs here. Come on, DNS. Yep, that's the first one. Does not pick up the second one. DNS stabilizes but loses 9 probes. And obviously, Kat, I think what you said there is very important. Disruptors are terrible in dealing with drops. And MarineLord's like, all right, that's it. Like, if you're walking around with 7-8 disruptors, I'm just going to start dropping you. Because taking a fight head-on is so damn difficult. But yeah, dropping against disruptors isn't all that complicated.
Yeah, and I love what MarineLord did there. That was a 3-pronged harass. I would love for him to continue on with that approach because it's clearly difficult for DNS to deal with. That said, he did pretty good, all things considered, right? Just a few probes going down.
Yes, now recall is going to be used once again, but is not aware of this massive army on the bottom left side of the map. MarineLord doesn't know about the base on the left bottom, but he's going to try to just pounce on this Nexus. Could maybe pick off a Robo as well. There's a lot of tech here. Colossus pop, Colossus dies, Robo falls, Nexus falls. What a great move by MarineLord.
Templar Archives will also fall, and that recall has to be a little bit sketch, as there were not that many units up there, and yeah, this is rough. MarineLord actually pouncing onto the army, seeing an opportunity to perhaps end the game, or at least take a very favorable engagement. One of those stalkers gets sacrificed to the Disruptors Nova. And MarineLord, I mean, if he had caught wind of this extra base on the south, I feel like he would have just walked there and killed it too.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine he splits off 2 Marauders, 3 Marines, kills that pylon, and all those probes are left for dead as well, right? MarineLord has played a great game, but he still needs to worry about a terrifying Protoss army that's about to knock on his door. And Cats, he doesn't have a proper answer against Colossus. He only has 2 Vikings, 1 tank. This is it. This is obviously not a planetary fortress either. EMP hands on a couple of sentries and zealots. If I'm DNS, I just go for it here.
Yeah, and if I'm MarineLord, I think I evacuate, Roddy. Your units are already kind of low here, though. What? A lot of those zealots are pretty bruised, but so are the bio units of MarineLord, and he really doesn't have that many medevacs out. DTs defensively, very, very nice, but MarineLord on top of it with the scan, still holding on back at home. The longer this goes, the better it is for MarineLord.
Yes, and he should be able to win that fight as well. But I don't know if he's going to win against this fight. This massive Protoss army shows no mercy. More and more Novas going forward. And the only thing that MarineLord really can do is run back. Eventually he's forced to fight, but another massive Nova explodes in the middle of the army.